And we're back, everybody. Well, I see you guys here. Good night to you. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is you catch it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everything's going well for you. Now, I know that the last time that we that you guys saw us, um, yeah, Trey made quite the quite the statement at the end of the show, and he's like, "Hey, if this is our last stream with Nat on the roster, mind you, this was the first day that free agency started. We have just closed out the first week of it, like today, like tonight. And little did we know that all this thing about what we just talked about last week feels like old news. Because man, the NFL just never stops being crazy when it comes around this time of the year. But uh, how's it going, everybody? You got Floyd, Danelli. um, kidding, but he's like, okay, show this. Got yourself a seasoned vet in the fandom right here. And he's saying we're for real, legit with precision, is good at the new. Mr. Smith and Mr. Fontenot are leaders of our pack. Whether you like it or not, that's true. So we're gonna get into a couple of things. Um, Before we do that, let's just say hello to the people that are here. Um, we got Moses, PS3. How's it going? Glad you can tune in. And let me just run by some of the topics that we have. So, not really in any particular order, but I think we can start off with what are our thoughts with what Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith have been doing, what they've been planning, what moves they've made, and what's the meaning behind everything, because it can get a little confusing because you want one expectations and then you got another one, and then like they make a move that kind of scratches your head a little bit. So we're gonna get into that and what we think about it. Um, how is everything shifting in terms of our draft board? I got a draft board that was requested for me to do, so I managed to do it in time in order to have it uploaded so you guys can see it. Um, and then just like what are our overall expectations for not this year, because I think that people have a certain
Basically.
stigma around them, yeah. But as you can tell in that entire press conference, they were so focused on the future, and I think that all of our expectations are going to lie there. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. Um, and then we got Chris Perp that wants to join us in. We got Tony Wright that's here to welcome us all, and others. So appreciate you guys tuning in. So let's get this. And what I'm going to do actually to start us off is I'm going to do this. And there. So link is in the chat if you want to join us as I go through the topics. Um, so whoever wants to start us off first, I think I'm going to lean towards this one though. Um, so Trey, how have your thoughts about this whole situation with the moves that they're making? How have they changed over the days?
One, just like to say, kind of called it last week. Not gonna lie, some just had that weird feeling. I always got to trust your gut. I guess I trusted it at the right time. Thank you, MR2. Y'all notice a new profile pic is up. Don't be surprised if you see me wearing a coach jersey in a couple of months. Yeah, let's get off of that. But for real though, I think with me, I think the team is kind of like Terrafino said, eating the cake but saving it at the same time too. Like they're making some key pieces that'll help out this year and maybe next year too. You see the Casey Hayward sign, and they signed him to a 2-year deal. And really, if you think about it, I think most of his money comes next year. So maybe you want to draft his heir apparent. But also, it does kind of help if you're competitive next year and you still have that number 2 corner out there that's basically a number 1 on some other teams. But yeah, and I don't know if you guys all watched the live stream they had earlier with or the interview they had with Terry and Arthur, but some reporter asked him, they was like, "Are y'all in a rebuild right now? Is this like reporting a rebuild?" And Arthur's just like, "We don't use that R word in here. You know, it's kind of like how parents say we don't use that word in here or that certain word." And I'm glad they aren't using the rebuild mode, because when you go into a rebuild, like he said, that's not fair to the players, and that's not what players want. If you're rebuilding, you might as well trade some of these players like you did Matt, and let them go out there and finish their last years, aka Grady and Dion, and let them go try to chase a ring. And it's not really fair if you say, okay, we're gonna rebuild, but then we have some of these stars on here that were wasting either their late prime, their early prime, and then by the time we're winning, they're kind of burnt out. So I like that they're kind of focused on 2023, but I think some of the signings say, okay, we're going to be we're still focused on 2022. Of course, you can't just skip past the whole year, you know. But right now, knowing that we have over $100 million in cap space, knowing that the draft class is basically a bit better than next year than it is this year, just in offensive, not really defense wise, because the defensive class is like literally stacked this year. Like you can find a day one guy and day two, most likely. But I think what they're trying to do is saying, okay, like they said back in February, we're gonna build the team up first. They're most likely not gonna take a quarterback to draft, and I know that's upsetting some of you guys. I want guys like Malik Willis and Riddler and Corral, but when you do that, you're gonna have to build the team more up next year than you want to, when you can really build the defense this draft, because it's basically just it's sitting right in front of you. When your defense is that bad and you have the best defensive class in about 5 years, just take it. I mean, you got wide receivers you can take on day two. You got edge rushers and D linemen that are round one that you could probably get on day two and sometimes three. You got some good running backs in here you can, have with the Damian Hill, Cordell Patterson, maybe Mike Davis if they don't cut him. The cornerback class, if you want to, draft a couple extras, have that running back, wide receiver, my God, the O line and D line class. I mean, that's really the shining part of the draft class, if you all think about it. So I think what they're trying to say is, okay, we're gonna build. They're not saying it, but they're kind of hinting at, okay, we're gonna build the defense up most likely this year. Maybe take a wide receiver with that 43rd or that 58th pick. And next year, when we have over $113 million in cap space next year, we built the offense up even more. You surround Kyle Pitts and whoever you draft this year and Cordell Patterson next year, and you surround them with some more weapons. You take that quarterback in round one next year, because you have to. You can't just say, okay, we're gonna ride with Marcus Mariota for the next 14 years. But it's like really the smart move right now to say, okay, let's build like I said, let's build the team up, mostly the defense this year. Next year, when the offensive class is a little bit more stacked than it is now, you build it up next year, and you have the team built for 2023 and beyond with the cap space, draft picks, and your quarterback is on a rookie deal. I mean, it's set up perfectly for Terry Fontenot or Arthur Smith right now. If they somehow find a way to screw this up, I don't know what to say.
Uh, I got one question from Eric because I don't know who's getting the feedback on this side. I mean, we've had audio problems with ourselves before, but we tried to fix that before the stream even started. Um, so if you can provide us more insight on that, and if anyone else can hear it, please let us know so we can try to solve it early and not have this linger on. Um,
I'm gonna go check that right quick.
right. Eric, if you can let me know if my audio is okay, if I'm sounding, you know, if I don't have an echo or anything like that, then let us know. And if Trey doesn't have it, one or the other, that way we can try to figure that out. Yeah, Ricky's hearing it as well. Let's see. So I'm gonna mute myself. Trey, if you want to just start, I don't know, maybe answering maybe answer this question. Um, do you think Marcus Mariota is the prototype that they want at quarterback for this team? Trey, you there? Maybe we can restart this.
All right, I checked everything on my phone. She'll be straight.
Okay. All right, just a quick update before we move on.
Everything good?
Um, Again, one more time. Do you think Marcus Mariota is what they want to try to get at quarterback? No, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Okay.
There.
Saying you sound better.
All right.
All right, move on.
Lie. StreamYard, don't do this to us again.
Yeah.
Please.
Goodness knows we've been battle tested enough. All right. So, yeah, to answer the question, do you think Marcus Mariota is here just because he's got familiarity with Arthur Smith, or is that like the type of style at quarterback that they want to look out for?
I think it's really both if you think about it, because one, you notice that Arthur Smith has really only had mobile QBs in the 2 years he was in Tennessee. But I also think it's because, like you said, it's the familiarity. He kind of stated that earlier too in the interview. They're both more mature than what they were last time. They they know each other well. They know he knows the playbook basically. Just a couple added things because you have score down now, but it's basically just the same playbook. So I think it's really both if you think about it, but I think it's more of the familiarity and just the stopgap QB so you don't look terribly garbage next season.
Yeah. So I really had to reflect on a lot of this stuff, and I don't know if you guys can tell in the background, but I've been doing some X's and O's as far as like what our first team roster looks like and our second team depth chart looks like, and yeah, it's gotten me
Busy.
Yeah, to say the least. Trying to juggle this along with like trying to figure out draft, trying to figure out free agents, and dealing with everything else outside of my life. We're gonna work through it, but yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's been any easier than anyone else, or any harder than anyone else, for that matter. I take a look at some of the moves, and I want them to try to have this feeling as if they can still try to bring in some talent right now, because obviously free agency isn't done, and they said that they wanted to try to make some more moves after the first wave of free agency. I think this first week has kind of been the first wave because all the big blockbuster moves have already been made. Hopefully, hopefully this sentence isn't as dated as it was last week, but yeah, like you mentioned Casey Hayward being on a 2-year deal. Lorenzo Carter is on a 1-year deal, so
I think he
maybe
can be that kind of
that.
Cordell Patterson on the defense next year.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I also kind of think about his role in the defense as far as like, okay, is he just here because he wants to go back to Atlanta? Is he just here because
we need depth?
Like Dean, like we need depth pieces? Is he here because like Dean Pease wants this type of guy, a guy with like a lot of length and stuff, because he's kind of similar to Ogundeji in regards to like he's just similar frame. I know that Ogundeji is longer, but they're still around that same build. So that kind of intrigues me. It's like, okay, are they good at the same thing, and can you kind of complement that on both sides? Like then you brought Young Gray Koo, you re-signed Cordell Patterson, but that's also a 2-year deal. We've kind of expected it, but it's just a matter of if you don't plan to be successful by 2023, I kind of feel bad about him signing right now. You know, about the one player that has been vocally saying that, hey, I want to be here so bad. Like, I'm going to hold up posters and stuff, and I'm going to show the fan base. I'm going to show the organization that I want to be here. We've never really seen that before. And, and over the course of this time, I was really starting to be like, not skeptical, but I was kind of questioning like why he wants to be here so badly. I'm looking back at his career, like, you won a Super Bowl with New England in 2018, and you want to say that this is your home now? Like, it's just so
here?
weird to me. Like, you want to stay here of all places? Like, you've been to like 5 different teams. Like, I know that we were the team to utilize you the best, but that's not to say that there's no one else that can do that. As we've already seen with guys like Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan, and I think that mold is starting to be developed. It's just weird because, again, you don't really see anyone else that really wants to be here. You can make the case for Casey Hayward, but he had his own choices to go to different places before, back when we needed corner help. So why make the move now? And now you're trying to have this bargain, and you're trying to sell the idea to certain people that, like, hey, why don't you come to Atlanta, and and you can have your vital role in the spot, and you can have this on your resume. And it's like, but who am I playing for? Like, am I playing just for myself? Am I playing for a fan base that may or may not exist? It's very split down the middle as far as I'm seeing all around, and it's just weird to me, But moving forward, I like the dynamic still about Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. Like, everything that I liked about them in year one, I still like about them now. Terry is all for the future, and Arthur is all for the present. Because he's going to be given the cards that Terry can deal him with, and they've been really working together. Now, I don't think that this is the final roster, of course, heading into the draft talk, but that's kind of like their motion already. Like, they've already kind of said, like, all right, well, we're going to start looking at some pro days. We're going to head over to Ole Miss and Cincinnati and whatnot. That's fine, but you got Marcus Mariota. You also got him on a 2-year deal. So what's the window that we're looking at here, right? Like, it's just kind of confusing. What's the, I see a lot of cap room for 2023. I'm not sure what the list of people that are free agents, and I've tried asking around, like, oh, hey, well, is there any position group in the draft class for next year that can kind of seem better than what we can choose from this year? And I've gotten a few answers about, like, defensive ends and edge rushers. So it's like, okay, if that pool is still somewhat deep there, might we only end up having to take one player, and then we'll, like, one player this draft, and then try to take another would-be better player for next year, kind of have our edge class set, and start focusing on other areas to fix the team right now, or at least patch it up somewhat. So that was been on my mind, the whole trading back scenario versus picking at 8 and trying to figure out, how to make that work. I've more so like the idea of us trading back than staying there and hoping that it works, because I feel like there's just too much pressure for us to get it wrong. So that could really, like, mess up the whole team if, like, the top guy that you wanted to get and it doesn't work out, or you're trying to sit him in the background and let him learn. And if it is like the Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett, like, if they want to go the direction of a quarterback like that, that's more acceptable than it was a couple weeks ago. But you still don't have much of a team around them. So I would prefer you to try to trade back, get yourself settled in, and really make sure that you have this team down to where you guys want it, and that you can keep it that way for as long as possible. because they want to talk about sustained success, and that's the way to do it. When you look at who you can bring in, you're bringing in people on 1 year, 2 year deals. So there's something there, and all that leads to our talk for 2023. But before we really dig into that, I really want to talk about the draft class a little bit more, because everything that we've done in the past couple of weeks about our own draft board on here that we've dealt with, like me and Jarvis, and me, you, and Jarvis, and Vlad, and Alex, and
that kind of went down the drain right there after the last like 3
a little
days.
bit,
Like Kyle Hamilton, like, do you really take him anymore? Like, when you have Richie,
you have Richie, you have Hawkins,
Harris,
you got back Harris, you re-signed Oliver, nice.
Yeah, so that's basically another corner. I mean, nickel / safety right there.
And you can't forget about DeAndre Alford. I think they have him listed as a safety, but the guy from CFL.
Oh yeah.
I like that option too. And everyone else, like Tease Tabor, I'm hoping that he can try to be some sort of like a Bleedy Ray Wilson for us a couple years ago.
I mean, that would be kind of a good veteran presence. Now, not to say Bleedy was like a perfect, just older with slot corner. He did get burnt sometimes, but when we needed him to make a play, if you put him in the right position, he could make it.
Yeah, and I would trust Dean Pease to put these guys in a better position now. And plus, you already have a lot of youth in the secondary, and that's what Dean Pease wants to build up mostly, So you have that to work with. Your linebackers are a bit of a question mark, because what's the thought about Deion Jones leaving this team? Like who else? Like, is there anyone else that's still on the chopping block right now?
Grady. I was expecting him to get an extension like 2 weeks ago, and I don't even think I've heard anything about that since.
Yeah, and it's like you did it for Jake Matthews. Okay.
Oh yeah, I did it for Jake. I mean, I don't know if that's signaling quarterback this year, and because of course if you're bringing in a new quarterback, you want him to have a reliable left tackle. You don't want him to end up being Daniel Jones, having Nate Solder, a washed, terrible tackle that was protected by Tom Brady. But if it does come up to that, I mean, like, if you're looking at the draft board right now, Derek Stingley and Ahmad are the last two things you're thinking about right now. Kyle Hamilton, last thing you're thinking about right now. Trevon Walker, Jermaine Johnson. I was about to say David Ajabo, but he just clarified himself as a day 2 guy with that Achilles injury. Carl Loftus, did he have his pro day already?
I'm sure he will be able to tell you. But I don't remember.
Yeah. Because the thing is, if you were trading with the Eagles, you were probably going to get a first back. They're like, there's no way when they have 3 firsts, you don't get one back. But as soon as that happened, I think they had their game plan is like, okay, we're gonna go. We're probably gonna keep Matt, probably gonna extend him, or restructure his contract. And then when they heard that, they're like, now what do we do? Because you never expect one of your players to get suspended for an entire season. You're probably thinking for like 2-3 games, but an entire season, like, no. So right now, I think they had their plan. Then the plan went from going straight up to heaven to just falling straight down. And now you're like, okay, well, maybe we have to take a Garrett Wilson with this 8th pick, because after that, I mean, even though you pass up on Jordan Davis and Trevon Walker, you still basically have a little bit less talented guys in Travis Jones and who's the other guy from Penn State?
Kingsley?
Yeah, Kingsley.
So or was it Arnold?
It's Arnold. One of those two. It's either Kingsley or Arnold. No, I think Kingsley goes to South Carolina. Number 1. Yeah. But yeah, you basically have like a little less athletic guys in that. So I think if you're thinking about it as that one, Garrett, your the top wide receiver in the draft is probably top 3 on your board, if not top 2. Jordan Davis is probably top 3, top 2. And I'd say Trevon Walker is probably top 3, top 2. So really, if those 3 guys are available or if those 2 guys are available, one of those guys are coming here. I mean, unless you're trading back and trying to get more picks for next year, which I do think is still an option with the Steelers, with them talking to Malik Willis or having dinner with him a couple times the past couple of weeks.
They're trying to get the second base with that guy.
Yeah, Kenny. I heard.
Went out to see a movie. Ordered the chicken parmesan. Like things are going great for them.
Heard the Panthers are looking like they're falling in love with Kenny Pickett right now. Haven't heard anything about Matt Corral. He just seems like the guy that's like he's moving up in boards, but he's not like the guy people are falling in love with right now. And I think it's because he's literally 6 feet. I mean, not even 6. I think he's like 5'11" and a half. So he's like kind of Kyler Murray size, and he's injury prone just like him. So I think that's kind of driving it down too. But if you have all of that, it's kind of like, man, like what does this draft board look like now? Because you don't have all of the needs that you thought were kind of a little smaller need that we can handle just turn into big needs right here. And I think if they do end up signing like a couple more edge rushers and maybe re-signing Rush too, I think that was a good signing right there. Re-signing him, he was a very good productive run stopper last year. If he would have had a little bit more experience in the DMP system, I think it helps him out. But with all of that, I think if you do end up signing like 2 more edge rushers, say like a Derek Barnett and the other dude they had a meeting with a couple days ago or yesterday, I think you do end up going like a guy like Garrett Wilson, because there's no way you can have Olamide Zaccheaus being your second wide receiver for the team. Like even this, I say third, maybe not even third. I say like fourth. If he's in your top 3 wide receivers, you're setting Marcus Mariota up for failure right there. And right now, if Arthur Smith is saying he wants to be competitive, that's not the option to go. So, I mean, like, if you let's say you take you sign a Derek Barnett, and you sign another like a mid-average, above average, 6'3" defensive tackle, nose tackle. Do you go Trevon Walker or Garrett Wilson at 8?
Well, before I answer that, prove it. How's it going?
What's happening, Noah? What's up, fam?
Going to prove it.
What would you have to say about that? Prove it. Like, would you be taking Walker right there?
Possibly, man. But right now, man, I'm so shell shocked, man. Regardless if Matt is gone or if he stayed, bro, we're gonna have to address this old line, bro. We can ask Mariota to run all over the place, man. That don't mean that's gonna equal production for us, man. I feel like we're in the sticks right now, man. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I mean, for the familiar sightings of what our team has looked like in the past, like this really isn't all that unfamiliar territory. It's just the first time that we're dealing without Matt trying to be the savior.
I agree.
It's
just hard, man, to come from that high-powered. Man, it's just hard, man.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that when it comes to how we view our team right now, the way it is, we have to get rid of the stigma that the quarterback is going to be the guy that's going to save and solve all of our other problems. All right? Let me try to put this in the basic terms as possible. It takes a football team to beat a football team.
Exactly.
Okay? You can't have the quarterback be the hero every single time. All right? We were trying to expect that week after week, year after year with Ryan. And eventually it stopped working. Not because he failed us, but because we failed him. Now we don't have that. Now we don't have that to fall back on. All right. So for those people that are scared of trying to get Mariota and trying to be the savior, he's not going to be that. Okay. You have to limit the responsibilities of what any type of quarterback can bring in nowadays, because you have a lot more to fix there. All right. You have your patch, you have your duct tape at quarterback in the form of Marcus Mariota. That's fine. Okay. He's got familiarity with the system. He looked good the last time he was told to be a full-time starter, or not a full-time starter, but like when he was asked to play 3 quarters in a game, well, 4 quarters, because he also played overtime in that last game against the Chargers in 2020. I digress. But that was the last time that he was actually like told to be a quarterback. He looked good there. That's not the same scheme though. All right. Arthur Smith developed a probably different scheme right now. And I will say this, you take a look back at Marcus Mariota's like his stats back in 2019 when he got benched. Yeah, that was bad. All right. And then you compare that to what Ryan Tannehill looked like after that. That was like, that made him look even worse. But you also got to realize that Arthur has grown, Marcus has grown. You don't think that Arthur Smith spending time with Matt Ryan is going to give him any sort of advantage on how to build a better quarterback? Like, you got to think about it in that sense, I think that he can learn those lessons, and really try to control that offense with a better ability than the week before. All right, we didn't have a whole lot of confidence in our roster last year, and we went freaking 7-10.
Right.
Okay. And it's not as if this is the only time where we're going to have to deal with an unproven veteran with no expectations that suddenly has to become a star. Cordell Patterson. Okay. They've done it before. They can build one again. All right. They had the perfect example of the team right in front of them for a year. You can't not learn something from that. All right. And what that lesson should be is dial back on what you're telling them to do. All right. You saw that. All right. We saw the decrease in Matt Ryan's passing attempts, and that led to everything else being lessened on his career. All right. They're trying to lighten the load. They're trying to focus on the ground game. And in order to do that, you need to build up the defense so that you can use your ground game in multiple areas of the game. You have to have your ground game be effective for all 4 quarters, because if you're falling too far behind, now you got to focus on your passing. But if you build up your defense to the point where you can rely on the ground game throughout the entirety of the game, that's what they're trying to shoot for. All right. They're not trying to focus on putting 50 points on the board every single week. They're trying to prevent our opponent from preventing 50 freaking points on the board every single week. All right. That is our goal right now. We have to focus on that. All right. We're building the secondary, focusing on the pass rush. That's going to make our team substantially better. And because of that, our offense doesn't have to do as much work in order to get us in the game. I know that we have a lot of competition, but guess what? Everyone that we're trying to bring in is also just trying to be as equally competitive, as well as our coaches in our front office. They're not trying to fail. All the big moves that they just had to do, you don't think that they're on the hot seat already? People are already trying to fire both of them. They have to prove them right.
I think we asking our running backs to be buried, man.
It's ridiculous, because they don't see the changes that have to be made. This is the change, all right? And it starts with how you view the quarterback on your team right now. Once you get out of that stigma, everything else becomes a little bit more easier to digest.
Do you think we'll have a productive passing game?
We don't need one right now. Anyways, how's it going, Jarvis? Jarvis, you there?
I think you muted yourself.
By the way, go Falcons.
Of course. All right. We're going to get a second chance. By the way, since we were sort of on the topic of draft class before I just went off, my bad. Here, because I was told to do this, so I took a couple snapshots of a mock draft that I was doing just a couple minutes before we started the show, and this was my result, right? So my first pick I traded back. All right, I'm not there at 8 anymore. I got some offer. I was like, this looks cool, and then I got another offer that bring me back a little bit further, and I was like, this looks cool as well. I got a lot more picks, and that's why this is what my first pick looks like, and I included the surrounding picks in front of it, but I took Trayvon Walker at 15. I was kind of surprised that he was there. So then I was like, okay, well, now I got some more picks. And this was my first. Okay, these were my two picks in the second round, if you can believe this. All right, this is why I'm like, don't put too much emphasis on this, but like keep in mind about the thought process that I was having. All right, so Trayvon Walker's there. We already talked about how good he can be when picked at the right value. All right, and I think that 15 is perfect. All right, this was my second round stuff.
Yeah, there's no way that happens. Yeah, there's no way Jordan Davis goes by 24. That's the latest he goes.
I was like, what the heck?
What is this, PFF?
This is the Draft Network. All right.
Yeah. So they haven't updated their thing in months.
Yeah, they're gonna go do Jordan Davis, man. They're not. He's not gonna be around.
Jordan Davis is, even if you traded back in the draft around 29, 30, I don't even think he's going to be around right there. Because you see, like,
that combine.
You already seen what Christian Barmore did last year. Christian Barmore is nearly as big as Jordan Davis. He's like 6'3", 325. Okay, and he runs a 4. He ran like a 4.84 or 4.83 in last year's draft. You have a bigger, faster, more athletic him that can rush the passer a little bit better than he does and take up blocks a little bit better than he does.
So let me run through the rest of it real quick, because I ended up with 3 picks in the third round, and I want to say 4 picks in the fourth. So this was my first pick in the third. It was Isaiah Spiller.
Okay, that's reasonable.
My second pick in the third was Kyle Phillips.
Reasonable.
My last pick in the third was Justin Ross.
Reasonable. Okay. I can see those 3 happening.
Right. And then my 4 fourth-round picks, actually. This is the first one. Took Jake Ferguson. This was the second one. I took Tyrese Robinson. I learned a little bit about him. He was initially an interior offensive lineman, but he has experience at right tackle too. Third pick in the fourth round, I took DeMarco Jackson. He's a 3-4 run stuffing type of linebacker, and I think that's what we can use right there for depth in case we're worried about that position, which I kind of believe that we all are. And on my last pick, I didn't really have so much of a
we need a safety.
Okay, put it this way. This is Troy Polamalu's nephew.
Huh?
Oh, wait. Is it?
I took him for the name. All right.
Well, man, hopefully some of that rub off, and that would kind of be the steal of the draft.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too, because he's also he's bigger too. He's big. He's like a 6'2" type of version of Troy Polamalu from USC.
Oh man, what's his measurable? 6'2" what?
6'2", probably 2 something. She's I want to say 220.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let me look this up first.
I think he's the kind of the less injury version of Keanu.
My bad. He is 6'4", 205.
Oh man, that's what we want.
He's basically the less injury prone Keanu Neal. Just a bit taller and a little bit smaller in the size.
I like that pick.
Yeah. I took Malik Willis right after I took Jordan Davis.
I mean,
that was that one. That was at 35 and 37.
I wouldn't be mad if Malik fell to like 43 or something, or if we didn't get in like 37 and they took him there. Taking him at 8 is a no-no for me. Taking him at like 43, 37, wherever. If we can get him in the second, pull the trigger, because even though he still has a couple of flaws that are a little bit major for me, decision making, and that footwork, especially the feet work. I don't really give a crap about your arm. If you can make a throw downfield, that's all I need to know. I don't care if you can throw 65 yards with a t-shirt and shorts on with some little 2-pound cleats. But in the Jordan Davis thing, people don't expect that to happen. I'm just going to be completely honest with you.
Of course.
If Jordan Davis is there in the second round, whoever is the first team in the second round is going to take him, no matter what their D-line is looking like.
No matter what their D-line is looking like.
So you mentioned a couple of things about arm strength, and it was kind of another pressing matter, not just for us, but when Tyreek Hill got traded earlier this morning, people were wondering, well, why are you doing that move? Because you got Jalen Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill now. You got two like really speedy deep threat guys, but he doesn't really throw that far. Really doesn't really have that arm power and stuff like that. Let me tell you what arm power could be useful for, all right, and how to properly measure it, because I feel like there's a difference between a person that's able to throw about 60 yards down the field and a person that's able to get the ball in a certain spot faster than that person that can throw deep. So when it comes to the timing of the routes, the timing of the protection, the timing of your own like internal clock as a quarterback, that all needs to be tested, and all of that helps you in determining how hard or what type of pass you need to make in order to get the throw in the right spot for the receiver to catch it. Another thing is anticipation too, because if you are a type of quarterback that wants to wait until you see your wide receiver get open, then that means you're going to have to wait a little bit extra longer. And that means that you're going to have to zip that ball in there a lot quicker than someone that, that has that anticipation. That's like, hey, I'm expecting you to be open right now. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do this.
And you got to have a receiver that can run under the ball too.
Right. And then they have to have their own set of skills when it comes to making the adjustment. So a lot more goes into it than just like, well, he can throw the ball 70 yards. So can Baker Mayfield. No one wants him.
Man, if I'm Baker Mayfield right now, I'm just saying, just cut me. If I can't get traded to the Seahawks, who has Drew Lock as their starting quarterback right now, what good am I to the NFL anymore? Like, really.
I like Baker, man.
All right, Jarvis, take two. How you doing?
I'm good, man. When I logged on, my commander was calling me. I was like, oh shit. So
you know what? I had my mom call me earlier than this stream too. I think we had the same feeling.
That's my bad. I could not answer the phone for him. So it's one of those things. So I apologize.
Oh, understandable.
Mm-hmm. What's going on, Jarvis?
What's going on, Trey? How y'all doing in here, man?
What it do?
Yeah, doing good.
Just,
so I don't know how much of the stream you've already caught, but
no, I see you going off. I see you going off about the whole situation earlier. That's why I was like, oh, I hear Noah, man. So, I just kind of woke up a little bit, went to bed a little early so I could wake up. But what I want to let the people know is more so, hey, man, let's be patient. Patience is the key here. Like Mad Mike in Case I said, in the earlier show was, y'all complaining now. What's y'all complaining about? This is what y'all wanted. This is what y'all wanted. Y'all wanted Matt gone. So now that he's gone, and you didn't get the compensation that you was looking for, and you didn't get the quarterback you looked for, now you're mad again. Exactly. But this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
It really reminds me of the situation where I saw this in an episode of a cartoon where they showed like a little kid in the passenger seat in the convertible, where he's like he's crying and yelling about he didn't get the right type of ice cream that he wanted, and then like the dad's over here like it's like really anxious about it. It's like, well, you're the one that picked that. You're the one that picked the flavor. It's like, well, I don't want it anymore. And then the dad like hits a speed bump, and then the ice cream goes flying away, and then he's crying over that. It really kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what was the analogy somebody used? I forgot who used it. Was think about this: when the Falcons went out all out for Deshaun Watson, whatever the reports were reporting on that, whether we know the full facts of it or whatever, Terry said they was just pursuing. It wasn't necessary, nothing that was set in stone. But either way, when the report for Deshaun Jackson came out, right then and there, it was like Matt Ryan was like, "Okay, guys, yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, I'm working with you guys because I know there's a future that needs to happen later on after me. But when since y'all doing this, I need to go ahead and look at my future as well." And it's like somebody used that analogy of look at the husband and wife. The wife goes out, and the dude who's available, the new guy who was available, or the guy that's available, she's been trying to get with for years, but now he's available now, and she goes out and try to hit it off with this guy, and whatever the case may be, and it doesn't work out. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got a wife already," and so she goes back to the husband and be like, "You know what? Well, you know what? I really want to make it work with you." And he's like, "Oh hell no, I'm good. You want to find somebody else? I'm going to find the dentist that we have. She really feels make me feel like I'm wanted." So that's the same situation with the whole Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson thing that's going on. So that's where I'm at with it.
These cats want to be mad, bro. They don't want one way or the other, bro.
Yeah, true.
Man.
But you can't put it on Matt Ryan no more. You can't put it on Matt Ryan no more. You can't say, "Oh, it's Matt Ryan's fault."
You got a mobile quarterback.
Like the front office seems to be making all the moves that you wanted them to make.
Yes. Yep.
All right, guys. Look, we have a mobile quarterback now. Okay, so now we really should
They
be
can't cry no
Super
more.
Bowl 57 champions of next year in Las Vegas. Okay, get the balloons ready, the confetti. We have a mobile quarterback.
Fill up the stadium.
I've heard the past 3 or 4 years that when you have a mobile quarterback with a not so terrible contract, that you're supposed to win the Super Bowl and go out and get free agents. That's what I've heard. So we're gonna see what happens this year. We went out and got the free agents, and it wasn't like last year. Last year, this is like free agency was just free agency. The past 5 years, this year is kind of a little exciting. You get some high potential guys. You already got a star guy in Casey Hayward. You brung back Young Hoku and Cordell. Isaiah Oliver has promise. I mean, the team may not be the best, but to be honest, if Marcus Mariota can be half
serviceable,
serviceable, or at least half
Just don't mess it up.
last year,
all right,
we can be 9-8.
I also put that on the coaching staff too. Like, don't try to put the ball into his hands in order to make the final play. I've seen him have that ability too, but let's not put so much flack on the guy that isn't really supposed to be here at the moment. All right, because you have a lot going on in that quarterback conversations, and for all the people that are saying it's like, "Oh well, man, you only got a 3rd round pick," but
I mean, you heard
what do you expect them to get?
I mean, you heard what Terry said earlier. He said it wasn't about the compensation we were going to get. It was about how we wanted to treat Matt.
Exactly.
If you were gonna, let's say the Seahawks wanted Matt. Matt doesn't want to go there. The Seahawks are like, okay, we'll give you a 1st and a 4th for this year. But Matt's like, man, I'm 37. They ain't really got that much talent there. It's basically the same team with a little bit better wide receiver. But you send Matt to the Colts and they end up, going to the Super Bowl or something, or winning a couple playoff games. You're like, well, Matt did all of this for you in 14 years. Then every quarterback is done for you in what? 49. Smart at math, quick math. But it's like, why would you do Matt dirty after all the things he's done, not just for the franchise, but for the city? You see him giving back to the down low, GTA type parts of the city. He's making, he's giving kids food for Thanksgiving, giving presents out to the kids. He had a community thing for kids, or it was something a couple
Or he
weeks ago.
opened
I
up
think,
some sort of recreational area.
yeah, recreational spot for children, and it's like he's not. He's doing all it. Like, this is his money too. It's not like this like coming from Atlanta. Like, this is his money. You know, he doesn't have to spend that $300 million he's made the past 14 years on us ungrateful hooligans. He can go, spend out on himself, spend out on his kids, spend out on his family. Instead, he decides to spend it on not just the franchise, but the city too. It's like, if you would have traded him to the Seahawks, I would have no respect for you, to be completely honest. It's like, cause no disrespect to the Seahawks, or if there's any Seahawks fans here, but like, it's the Seahawks. Like, come on, you traded away Russ. All you basically have is DK. Tyler Lockett is basically 30 years old. Your offensive line is about as same as ours. Your defense is about the same as yours, if not a little bit worse, because you cut Carlos Dunlap and Bobby Wagner. So,
Which I'm hearing reports about him trying to go to the Rams. I'm like, oh dear God, no.
man, this sounds like the Bucks all over again. Like, trading for sign trade for a QB, win Super Bowl first year at your house, and then all of a sudden you try to make a super team all over again, and you just get kicked out in the second round. I mean,
And they might trade away DK too.
yeah,
I
because it's like, if
I
you're
think I
DK,
heard
like,
about them and like the Chiefs having conversations, and even the Packers were talking to Tyler Lockett at some point.
I mean, like, especially if you're Tyler Lockett, but think about DK. You could basically be, or you're nearly Julio Jones. I'm not gonna disrespect Julio like that. Julio is Julio, but you go from Russell Wilson, a top 10, top 5 quarterback, to Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Do you really want to spend your prime years there when you're not even going to be competitive for another, to be honest, like 3 years? Like, are you really going to waste that? And then Tyler Lockett, you're 29 years old. You know you can be a serviceable number 2. And you've proven yourself to be one of the top guys, if not one of the top number 2 wide receiver in the league. Are you really about to spend those last 2 or 3 good years you have left in the tank? Even though you love Pete Carroll and the Seahawks to death, are you really about to do that? I mean, I'm glad
It
Matt
don't make
Ryan on
no
there.
good
It's
business
like,
sense at all.
yeah, because I'm glad Matt Ryan on there, because it's like, man, like, I love Atlanta. I spent 14 years here. I went to the playoffs countless times. I won plenty of games. I've, made all these stats. I have plenty of good memories. But now it's like, this team is not going to win anything this year. I mean, they might, but they don't have. I don't have the surrounding
There's no
pieces around it.
expectation for them to.
Yeah, there's no expectation for them. And when you want to win a ring, of course we know we're not going to win a ring. I'm not going to say, be that one fan. I'm like, yeah, we're Super Bowl champions 2022. No, we're not winning a ring next year. I don't know if we're winning a ring next year. In the future, probably. But I'm glad Matt Ryan says, okay, I love this team. I love the fans, surprisingly. I love this city. But I got to go finish my career out on a bang. I cannot finish my career on 3 straight 7-10 seasons. I can't.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I do. You know what? Honestly, if I can revert back to what I said earlier in regards to Matt Ryan needing a fresh start, I think this was in the making a long time ago. I think even if we didn't get Deshaun Watson, or we did, Matt Ryan was going to be gone anyway, because he's been through what this will be his 3rd new head coach. Well, Walter Smith, he played Walter Smith last year, but it'll be like revamping multiple times already. And a 37-year-old quarterback is eventually going to say, like like Trey said earlier, you know what, man, I love y'all, but I got to get gone. And this is what I'm not even mad with Matt. Ultimately, I'm gonna be I'm loyal to the logo. I'm gonna still be a Falcons fan no matter what. But I will be following Matt Ryan's career. I'm telling you, I'm just being straight up with you. I will be following the rest of his career.
Make it
And I
sure
think
the
the
Colts
Falcons did
fans
right
treat
by
him
him.
right.
Yeah, I think the Falcons
Bro,
did right by him.
I'm still seeing like people that are like, man, we should have kept Wentz, and I'm like,
What?
Should have kept who?
Man.
They should have. They should have kept Carson Wentz.
Nah.
And the crazy thing is, out of the past, I'm not even going to say 14 because this fan base has hated him for nearly half, less like 48% of the fan base has hated him for 14 years. But this man got more love from Colts fans in like 3 hours than we gave this man in the past 2 years. I mean, you saw Colts fans like, yeah, we got Matt Ryan. Yeah, Matt Ryan. You know, we're taking the South. This is our division. We have the best quarterback in the division. When was the last time before Tom Brady came? When was the last time you heard a Falcon fan confidently say, "We have the best quarterback in the South"?
Never. They wanted Matt
Never.
Ryan gone since when he was drafted in 2008. They were stuck on Michael Vick coming back out of prison and being the quarterback. And when Matt Ryan got drafted and he never came, and Mike Vick never came back, they wanted him gone from day one.
Because they blamed him. They was like, if we never draft you, then Michael Vick wants to come back. Well, who's to say Arthur Blank was gonna be like, well, you lied to me for what, a year or two, got arrested, and do y'all really think after what Arthur Blank was going through in those first 7 years as the owner, you don't make the playoffs, you miss the playoffs 5 out of the 7 years he's there. You're selling tickets, but you ain't winning no games. Your head coach just dips in the morning. He just says bye, doesn't leave a message, no notes, no phone call, no I quit, iMessage, no
You just see
nothing.
him on college football.
Yeah. And you have 5 different quarterbacks in one season.
And
Is that really what you want?
That was tough, bro.
Man, as Arthur Blank, you got to think like, man, I just bought the team. Like, do I have to go? I just bought. It's owners right now that's been owning it. Jerry Jones, how long? What, 40 years? 40, 50 years now? That man ain't never had to go through what Arthur Blank went through. I mean, not to say Arthur Blank hasn't, has had it, just a like rough, but like, dude, like 3 straight players basically lied to you in your face and said, yeah, I'm here for a long ride, and dipped, lied, everything, scandaled
I
you.
don't think that's happened to any NFL team but us, bro.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean,
multiple times.
Multiple. Calvin really gets suspended for an entire season. I ain't heard no other team since that one owner, or was it a coach or owner back in baseball 40 years ago. Yeah, Julio here goes on live TV, says, yeah, I'm out of there. And then not even about half a decade later, earlier, Mike Vick gets arrested, and their city is basically burning down because of it. Like,
Man, I'm not gonna say what happened to Mike was it wasn't positive at all, man, but it ended up becoming a positive because Mike's footwork, he relied on his athleticism too much, bro. And it wasn't until he got with Andy Reid to where he was actually like developed. Mike was
at least
raw.
paying attention to a playbook.
Yeah,
right.
By that time it was too late because his athleticism was gone.
And you miss your chance, man, when you fooling around. You know what I mean? And nobody like that, but bro, you gonna have to chalk that up. Mike had his chance, man. The stats are the litmus test. Mike wasn't good until he went to Andy Reid, bro. That's it.
And even then, he wasn't even the long-term answer there.
Yeah.
Because then he got sent over to the Jets for that one season, and then ended his career as a Steeler.
Mm-hmm.
bruh. I like Mike, man, but the truth of the matter is he is not the best quarterback the Atlanta Falcons had, man. That's just it. If you're
Yep.
not looking at it that way, bro, you're not looking at it with a football mind, bro. You're just your mind is somewhere else. That's it.
No, you remember that in the Discord? I think it was either uh Gump or Big Suge that had sent in, and it was basically a tweet from this one dude saying, "We draft Malik Willis." It's the first thing he said. He doesn't say anything about his footwork. He doesn't say anything about his arm strength. He doesn't say anything about his accuracy. He
No
goes to
decision
say
making.
Mike Vick 2.0 black quarterback in the city.
And that's foolishness, bro.
That's all, and that's all they worried about. Like, what is it? What does it matter if we had the whitest dude in the world at quarterback? As long as he's good, as long as he can win games, I don't care if the man's
Dude,
blue,
imagine
green,
if
white,
Josh
black,
Allen
Mexican. I
was
don't
in
care.
this draft class.
They
No,
wouldn't be talking about
the,
Josh
the,
Allen at all.
no, the only exception that the Atlanta Falcons fans would make as for a white quarterback will be Tom Brady. That's it. They will make up every excuse in the book to go, okay, well, it's Tom Brady. Any other quarterback, he needs to be black. He cannot be any other. That's the thing, like I said, man. Being from Georgia, myself, small town outside of Georgia, Warner Robins, Macon area. But I'm gonna tell you something, man. I've been watching, I'm 34 years old. I've been watching this debacle for a very long time. It's always been, this is Atlanta. We're the black mecca of the South. We don't need to have any other quarterback in our football team except a black quarterback. And I always ask themselves, I say, are you a Braves fan? Yeah. Well, your superstar at the Braves is not a black person. Do you understand that, right? It's Freddie Freeman. And it was like, well, that's different. I said, how's it different? You say you want everything black in Atlanta, so how's it different? Talk to me. They can't give me an answer.
Bro, it's something else, bro.
It is.
It's not football at all.
They
It's
want
not
excitement.
it's not sound mind and reason. It's something else, bro.
And the thing is,
It's shit deep rooted. It's deep rooted.
I love Trey Young, but he's kind of just ruining it right now because it's like they finally got that black superstar, and now they're winning, and they see Atlanta losing. They're like, well, it's because Matt Ryan, and we ain't got a black, mobile, fast, big arm dude. Like, come on, like,
They gotta grow up, bro.
I mean,
yeah.
ever since the early '90s, like we've had superstars in plenty of other positions.
Yes.
If you want that icon,
Dion.
like you had Prime Time, you had Jamal Anderson that gave us the Dirty
Yeah.
Bird, then you had Vic, and then you have Julio, and it's like, but they've seen Vic, and they were like, bro, he was the guy that did it at that position, and now we expect that every single time now because apparently we didn't do anything when we had those icons elsewhere.
And now, and
But
if
it's
we
like,
do end up drafting a quarterback, they're expecting him to make the playoffs first year because Ryan did it.
oh
They're
yeah, and then
saying,
throw
okay,
for
if
7,000
Ryan
yards,
can do it, this
but
dude's
also
supposed
rush
to,
for like 5,000 yards.
yeah, he's supposed to, how Lamar Jackson MVP stats. Like, dude, no, like Ryan came into the league polished already. There wasn't really many flaws with him, other than he wasn't mobile. He had the arm strength. He had a little bit of mobility to him. He could move. His accuracy, his pinpoint, his smartness. I mean, everything was just there. But when you look at Vic, he was like, well, what else can he do other than run, do a couple
Yeah.
read options, and
But
throw
it's not
throw
even
a
about
2-yard
winning anymore.
pass?
It's not even about winning anymore,
Yeah,
guys.
it was about for the brand and
It's
for
the
the
brand.
culture and for the
It's the culture.
demographic.
That's it. Listen. Deep down inside, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This may sit wrong with some of you guys, but I can't wait till the Falcons get that quarterback that everybody's waiting on. They got to with Mariota for a stopgap, but let's say they go into the draft and they get Malik Willis. Now I don't wish any bad juju on Malik Willis. Don't get me wrong, but I can't wait till the Falcons get that quarterback and they get him and he doesn't bring anything to the city, but running and all of this thing. Yeah, that's going to sell tickets for the first 2-3 years. I get it. They're going to be like, oh, we got a fast quarterback. He got a great arm. But when it's being seen before and they get used to it and the winning is not coming and the playoffs is not coming and things of that nature is not coming, you're going to start hearing this. Well, man, man, he can put on the show, but we got to start winning some games. I can't wait till that happen. And I start hearing people complaining because, ultimately, I'm pretty sure you guys will too. But to see and hear those people complain about, man, we ain't winning now. The first person to see that Ryan or whoever that was, trying to be a good positive to this thing, I'm like, hey, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear nothing you say about winning. Because it's not what you guys wanted. You wanted somebody who was fast, big arm, and who was black.
And then they want to have like the. And then they want to have the requirement. It's like, oh, well, they also got to give us consistent winning and all that kind of stuff. It's like no one else in the history of the franchise from 66 to 2007 ever gave you consistency like that.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to cut you off, Jarvis, but you're really choppy.
You're breaking up, bro.
Can you hear me now?
You're sounding better, but I think when you...
Sorry.
I think some sort of frequency happens. But we're gonna have to wrap this up. If we want to have one final word, whatever it is you want to give, whether it's like your one last goodbye to, Matty Ice, and see him go from the red to the blue, and now the tides have been turned. By the way, this is not brought to you by Tide, but it's just when I was listening to the radio, I was like listening to his Tide commercials and his voice, and I was like, dang. How the tides have turned. But
good one.
Yeah, if you guys want to say your final piece or whatever that case may be, but that's it's going to be the end of the show for this right now. Like I said, we got to try to condense this down. So approve it. We'll start with you.
Man, my final word is go Falcons, man. Regardless, the moves is made. It's time to move on, man. Let's go on and give Dean Pease what he need, man, and solidify this defense, man. Whoever that may be, man. Go Falcons.
This team needs as much support as it did the year prior. Jarvis?
Can you hear me now?
So far.
Okay. So, same thing Pruva said. Go Falcons. I like the pickup of Casey Hayward. We know of Casey Hayward. He's from Perry, Georgia, which is the next city over from Warner Robins. Actually, he's my brother's cousin on his mother's side. So I hope that he does well for us. Welcome home. And like I said, go Falcons.
Period.
Okay.
Oh, man. I guess I said my goodbyes to Matt last week, but just want to say now that it's official. Go do well in Indy. I'll be trying to watch all your highlight games, all the wins you have, because I don't really like watching highlight losses. It kind of, I don't know if y'all know. I don't know if I said this before. Like, it took me like 6 years just to watch that February 5th game highlight, and I cried at the end of it like I did that last time. So, saying that, one thing I would like, one thing y'all do notice though, the only two QBs that these fans are talking about next year to get, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Guess what's in common about both of them? Black, strong arm, fast. Okay. That's all for me.
We gotta stop that, man.
Trey, tell them about 2023. What should we expect? Because apparently you hit it right nail on the head on the last week's show with your last words.
Expect a lot of big signings, not gonna lie. with money now, I do see Terry and Arthur kind of not, blowing the roof off with these like 50, $60 million signings like the Patriots did last year, or the Jags are doing, giving Christian Kirk $84 million. But expect some big things, expect some big signings. It should be. I mean, this offseason has been exciting. I mean, it's had its ups and its downs, but it's had some pretty big ups too, as far as the signings and the trades. So what I will say, um, don't expect a quarterback this year. It's still in the options, but don't expect it just because of they've basically told us what they're gonna do without telling us what they're gonna do. And that's building the team up first, no matter what quarterback is there. Build the team up first. And if it ends up being a top 5 quarterback out of this draft that we could have picked, so well. Can't pick every good player. But we've learned that. 2012 taught us that. 2018 taught us that. 19, well, yeah, 19,
Outside of
17.
Foyer.
Yeah, other than Foyer. But yeah, and like I said, he's full of got to get past electric. Get used. I love electric. Electric is fun. I love Lamar. I love Josh. I love Patrick. But guess what they all do though? Even though they run and they pass the ball deep and they make these great throws, they still win games. They're still in the playoffs every year. Russell Wilson, he won a Super Bowl. Not saying that you need just a Russell Wilson type quarterback to win a Super Bowl or just an electric quarterback, but even if you do have a quarterback like Vic, develop him. Don't let him just slack off like Petrino did and not even let him study the playbook. Make him develop him. Be a little bit bossy with him. Get him in the shape so that you don't have a Michael Vick 2.0 literally in the same thing, other than the dog fights.
Whew, had to bring that last one in there, huh? I'm gonna say this. Marcus Mariota, we're rooting for you. All right. Please do this man a favor. All right. I know you've had history throwing to your tight ends, making sure that they're very efficient. All right. You had Delaney Walker, you had Jonnu Smith, you had Darren Waller. Make Kyle Pitts the best one you've ever played with. All right. All right. Arthur Smith, former tight end coach, former offensive line coach. You got to know what to do. All right. The front office and everything around that side of the organization, they all got revamped recently. I don't know if you guys have all seen that, but a lot of front office moves have been made too. All right. Patterson's back. Okay. We have 2 of our 5 weapons in place. Okay. We have 2 of our 5 offensive linemen in place for right now. Okay. Our defensive side, we have a lot more confidence in making sure that we're improving in those sides of the ball. We don't have a long snapper anymore. We don't have a punter, but it's not like those guys are impossible to get. All right, and especially not for cheap.
I mean, we literally found off the street.
And then let's take a look at the NFC. All right, how long do you expect Brady to be here in the division? How long do you expect the Saints to be what they are right now?
They're going to be terrible.
Okay, and then the Panthers, skip them.
They're the Panthers.
Right?
What do you expect from the Panthers? I mean, before we end it, I just want to say this, but let's look at the 15 other teams in the NFC right now. Yeah, the Super Bowl champs and the Rams. They're going to be number 1. You have a little bit less depleted Buccaneers team as far as offensive line and defensive line, and a little bit in the wide receiver room too. With Chris Godwin, we don't know what he's going to be.
The BS is going to carry them to the top anyways. So
yeah, so you have them as the number 2. Dallas Cowboys, they just fell off a little bit. Leo Collins, Amari Cooper, Randy Gregory, all of those guys that were key contributors.
They replaced them with Dante Fowler.
Yeah, Dante. I guess Dante Fowler is going to go to Dan Quinn's system and bet up 12 sacks again. You look at the Eagles. not really in the best position right now. They have a good team, but that's a lot of older veteran guys that we don't know how long they're going to be in the league.
They were just happy to be there in the playoffs. Let's be honest. Cardinals.
Cardinals. We don't really know what they're going to be when they start off 11-0 and end the season off 1-5.
49ers.
49ers. Jimmy G. We don't know what they're going to be. And they don't, surprisingly, they don't have a lot of cap space over the next 3 years because of the Jimmy G, Fred Warner, and a couple of other deals that they have in place. Possibly. Yeah, D Ford too.
Maybe
all of
Bosa
those. Trent Williams making that man the highest paid left tackle in NFL history. Of course, you have your little bottom feeders and the Giants, the Lions, the Bears, Vikings. The Vikings could take a jump this year, but then again, you really never know because that secondary isn't really that good, and their quarterback. I mean, I love Kirk, but he's kind of inconsistent when it comes to the big games.
Commies with the better version of Matt Ryan apparently and Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Got the Commanders. I don't really trust them, especially with Carson Wentz at the helm. The Packers. They just lost Devontae Adams. They might lose MVS. They lost to Darius Smith. I mean, these are all key guys that helped them win last year. I mean, when you look at this NFC South,
you only need you got to fill up 7 slots.
Yeah, when you look at the NFC itself, the next 10 years, like there is no number one team that you can say, yeah, this team is going to be the number one team for the next 10 years, like you can say in the AFC. This whole division, not just itself, this entire conference is just wide open. If you can build a team that can at least compete with the Rams, this conference is wide open. And
now the only thing that's really stopping us is our freaking schedule, which is
tough
as heck.
I mean, we basically have a playoff schedule every week next year, but we kind of had that last year too.
Iron can sharpen iron.
Yeah, but
if you want
Arthur Smith knows his flaws now. He at least knows the offense a little bit more. You still know the quarterback that you have. You basically know him too. So, like Jarvis said, patience is key.
You're never as good as you think, but you're never as bad as you think either.
Yeah, and this may not be the season we expected, but you never know what Terry and Arthur can do. Not just in the next, year, but in the next couple of months. You never know if they make a big trade or the draft class ends up like the Saints 2017 draft class and carries them to the playoffs. But, you never know. And we're just going to have to see. And if somehow Jalen Mayfield and Richie Grant and some of these guys step up and the 2022 class steps up and they're just becoming a lot of stars and valuable pieces to the team. Never know. We can end up 10-7. I mean, that's why I think we can do that this year. If the draft class ends up being decent, or if we can hit on at least those first 3 or 4 picks, I think the team ends up being 10-7 or 9-8, even with the schedule. So it all comes up to what Terry and Arthur can do in the next month or so in the draft, free agency, and how they build this team up from there.
Hopefully we can keep that so that we can see the final product.
Yeah.
But, that's going to be all we got to say about this one. Next week, I don't even know what we're going to do. But we'll work on it. The NFL is always going to give us some new material, all right? Following the Falcons is never a freaking boring week at all. All right, so, heck, so...
Because I don't think anyone expected Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams to be traded in the same week.
Basically in the same breath as each other.
Yeah. But hey, that's all for us. See you guys next week.
Yeah. So, see ya.